The urgency of divine timing is something that cannot be overstated. There comes a moment in every person's life when God's hand moves in a way that changes the course of destiny, a moment when the voice of heaven calls out, not just to be heard, but to be obeyed. This is not a call that comes casually or without purpose. It is a call that is strategically timed to intersect with your preparation, your readiness, and the invisible alignment of circumstances that only God can orchestrate. Understanding the urgency of divine timing is understanding that life is not merely a series of random events, but a carefully crafted journey in which every encounter, every trial, and every blessing is deliberately placed to bring you to the threshold of your destiny. The moment God calls, it is a defining moment. It is a moment that separates those who will rise to the fullness of their potential from those who will remain in delay, caught in cycles of frustration, missed opportunities, and unfulfilled dreams. Divine timing is not just about opportunity, it is about destiny itself. It is the intersection of your preparation and God's perfect plan. Many people fail to recognize the urgency of divine timing because they are so consumed with their own schedules, their own plans, and their own understanding of when and how things should happen. They try to force doors open, they chase opportunities prematurely, or they wait too long for the perfect moment, not realizing that the perfect moment is already orchestrated by God. God's timing is never late, and it is never early, it is always precise. It is designed to maximize the impact of your obedience and to ensure that the change that comes is sustainable and transformative. To understand the urgency is to understand that every delay in responding to God's call is not just a delay in opportunity, it is a delay in purpose, a postponement of the fullness of your life, a hesitation that could cost you the breakthrough that has been prepared specifically for you. The urgency is also reflected in the fact that God's last call often comes when everything in your life seems to be shifting. Circumstances may be intensifying, pressure may be mounting, and the familiar may be falling away. This is not an accident. It is a divine signal that the moment of change is at hand and that you must respond decisively. There is a unique power in responding to God's call in the moment it is given. Hesitation can result in missed seasons, but obedience releases the supernatural acceleration that only God can provide. The urgency is real because time, as humans measure it, is finite, but God's timing ensures that eternity is impacted by the moment you answer His call. To ignore it is to delay blessings not only for yourself, but for those whose lives are connected to your destiny. Urgency also comes from the realization that opportunities in life are rarely repeated. While God's mercy and grace are infinite, the specific alignment of events, people, and circumstances that create the perfect storm for your breakthrough is often unique. This is why divine timing demands attention and response. The window may appear brief, but it is enough if you act in faith. Waiting too long, being cautious, or overthinking the moment can result in the loss of a season, a blessing, or a promotion that was designed specifically for you. The urgency is not meant to create fear. It is meant to awaken your awareness and to ignite your action. God calls not merely to invite, but to activate. He calls to mobilize the resources within you and around you that are prepared to align with your obedience. There is also an aspect of urgency in divine timing that relates to personal growth. God's call is often tied to the level of maturity required to handle the responsibility of the change He is bringing. The urgency is a reflection of the readiness that has been developing within you through trials, lessons, and experiences. These moments of preparation are not wasted. They are the soil in which your potential is rooted. When the call comes, it comes to the one who has been shaped to receive it. Ignoring it does not just delay the change, it disregards the investment God has made in your character, your vision, and your capacity to impact the world. The urgency is a reminder that destiny is not only about opportunity, but also about timing, readiness, and alignment with God's eternal plan. Recognizing urgency also involves spiritual discernment. The world moves according to human schedules, but God's timing is supernatural. To discern His timing, one must cultivate an awareness of His voice, an understanding of His will, and a willingness to move when He moves. It is a call to live in a heightened state of spiritual alertness, ready to act when the signal comes. Divine timing is precise and the urgency is real because God's plan is unfolding in the realm of the invisible, where preparation, faith, and obedience converge to produce results that are beyond human calculation. In practical terms, responding to divine urgency means prioritizing your life according to God's call. It means listening closely to the voice that speaks through prayer, through circumstances, through counsel, and even through a deep inner conviction. It means understanding that the last call may be a final opportunity to step into a season of unprecedented growth, influence, and blessing. The urgency is designed to motivate action and to focus attention and to shift energy away from distractions that would otherwise dilute the impact of God's intervention. To embrace this urgency is to step fully into responsibility, to acknowledge that your life has been placed in the context of something far greater than yourself, and to act in alignment with the divine schedule. The urgency of divine timing is also a test of faith. Faith is not passive, it is active obedience in the moment of God's call. The longer one hesitates, the more the opportunity to exercise faith diminishes. Faith requires immediate response when God speaks, because delay often leads to doubt, fear, or distraction. Divine timing moves swiftly, and the urgency is a reminder that life-changing moments are fleeting unless met with decisiveness. To act in the moment is to demonstrate trust in the unseen hand that is guiding your destiny. To wait too long is to risk missing the manifestation of what has been promised. Ultimately, understanding the urgency of divine timing is about recognizing that your life is part of a larger narrative, one that has been designed with precision, purpose, and intentionality. God's last call before a major shift is a signal, a divine alarm, and a summons to action. It is not casual or accidental, it is the intersection of your readiness, His plan, and the unfolding of destiny. Responding to this call with urgency ensures that you do not simply witness change, but that you actively participate in it, stepping into a season that has been prepared for your advancement, influence, and fulfillment. The urgency is a divine push, a sacred reminder that the time to move is now, that the opportunity is now, and that your destiny cannot wait indefinitely. The urgency of divine timing carries with it the weight of responsibility and the promise of transformation. It demands awareness, discernment, faith, and immediate action. Every delay is a cost, every hesitation is a risk, and every missed moment is a lesson in the importance of aligning with God's schedule. Those who grasp this urgency understand that life is not about passive existence, but about active participation in the unfolding of a divine plan. It is about stepping into the exact moment when heaven meets earth, when preparation meets opportunity, and when obedience meets destiny. The urgency of divine timing is not negotiable. It is a call to action, a summons to readiness, and a signal that the window of breakthrough is open, but only for those who respond without delay. Recognizing God's voice is one of the most vital skills a person can develop in life, yet it is something that is often overlooked or misunderstood. The voice of God does not always thunder from the heavens in dramatic fashion. More often it is subtle, persistent, and deeply personal. It speaks to the heart, nudges the conscience, stirs the spirit, and resonates within the depths of your being in ways that cannot be ignored if you are willing to listen. Recognizing this voice is a matter of spiritual sensitivity, cultivated awareness, and consistent practice. It is about distinguishing the divine promptings from the distractions, opinions, and noise of the world. God's voice is always in harmony with His nature, always aligned with truth, and always directed toward your ultimate good and the fulfillment of His purpose in your life. Those who learn to recognize it do not merely survive life's challenges, they navigate them with wisdom, precision, and divine insight that ordinary understanding cannot provide. The first step in recognizing God's voice is understanding that it is relational. God desires communication with His children, and His voice is a reflection of that relationship. It is not an impersonal directive, it is a personal invitation. This voice often comes in moments of quiet reflection, in the stillness before decisions are made, or in the inner convictions that rise when the mind is focused on purpose and principle. The voice is persistent yet gentle, calling you not out of caution but out of love, guiding you toward decisions that align with His will. Recognizing God's voice, therefore, begins with cultivating a relationship that is sensitive enough to hear the subtle promptings of the Spirit, attuned enough to discern guidance from distraction, and disciplined enough to act upon it without hesitation. Often, God's voice is mistaken for intuition, gut feeling, or even coincidence. The difference is that divine communication has a clarity and consistency that cannot be ignored once properly understood. It aligns with Scripture, reinforces truth, and provides a sense of peace and certainty, even in the midst of uncertainty. It calls you beyond fear and doubt into action, often asking for obedience that challenges your comfort zone, tests your faith, and requires courage that only God can supply. Recognizing this voice requires time spent in prayer, meditation, and reflection, a conscious effort to quiet the noise of the world, and a willingness to be still enough to hear the subtle movements of the Spirit. The more you practice this, the more unmistakable the voice becomes, guiding you with accuracy and purpose. The urgency of recognizing God's voice becomes even more apparent when you consider the cost of missing it. Every person has moments when the direction is clear, when divine insight is offered, and when the timing of response determines the trajectory of their life. Ignoring or misinterpreting the voice can result in missed opportunities, delayed breakthroughs, and unnecessary struggle. Conversely, responding correctly to the voice of God opens doors that would otherwise remain closed, provides solutions to problems that appear insurmountable, and aligns your life with a destiny that is far greater than what human effort alone could achieve. Recognizing the voice is therefore not optional. It is essential for anyone serious about fulfilling the divine purpose in their life. God's voice also comes through circumstances and the unfolding of life's events. Often patterns in life, repeated signs, or divinely orchestrated encounters serve as confirmations of the voice that has already spoken to the heart. Recognizing these confirmations requires discernment and wisdom. For not every coincidence is a divine directive, and not every opportunity is God's call. Those who develop the ability to discern God's voice learn to filter information, test it against principles of truth and righteousness, and align it with the broader vision of their life purpose. This discernment is cultivated through study, reflection, experience, and a consistent walk in integrity and obedience. The more attuned you become, the clearer the voice becomes, even amidst chaos, distractions, and competing demands. Another dimension of recognizing God's voice is understanding that it often challenges your human logic. God rarely calls in ways that are entirely predictable, convenient, or comfortable. His voice may direct you to leave security for uncertainty, to act when reason says wait, or to step forward when fear tempts you to retreat. Recognizing this voice is therefore an exercise in faith, a willingness to trust what cannot be seen, and a commitment to obey even when the path is unclear. The voice of God aligns with wisdom, purpose, and eternal principles, yet it frequently requires courage, boldness, and a willingness to risk personal comfort for divine advantage. Those who are sensitive to this voice are able to navigate life's twists and turns with confidence, knowing that even when the direction defies logic, it is leading them toward the fulfillment of God's promise. There is also a consistency in God's voice that sets it apart from the noise of human opinion, emotion, and external influence. It is never contradictory to His word, never coercive in a harmful sense, and never confusing when approached with humility and attentiveness. Recognizing the voice means learning to distinguish between external pressures and internal convictions, between fear-driven impulses and spirit-driven prompts, between worldly advice and divine instruction. It requires spiritual discipline, the ability to be still, and a commitment to seek clarity through prayer, reflection, and alignment with eternal principles. The clearer you become in recognizing God's voice, the more confidently you act, and the less susceptible you are to being swayed by the uncertainty, chaos, or manipulation of the external world. Recognition of God's voice is also relational in its impact. It is not only about hearing guidance for personal gain. It is about alignment with a purpose that affects others, impacts communities, and fulfills a larger plan. The voice of God often calls individuals to action that influences the lives of many. When recognized and obeyed, it creates a ripple effect that extends far beyond the personal sphere, touching families, communities, nations, and generations. The ability to discern this voice, therefore, carries a responsibility, a sacred stewardship over the influence and impact that comes from obedience. The urgency to recognize and respond is heightened because divine instruction often comes with time, sensitive opportunities that shape the destiny of many. Recognizing God's voice is a skill developed over time through intentional living, spiritual discipline, and consistent practice. It requires the cultivation of patience, sensitivity, and attentiveness to spiritual realities. It also requires the courage to act when prompted, even when the call seems difficult, risky, or counterintuitive. The more you practice listening, discerning, and obeying, the more unmistakable the voice becomes, guiding you with precision, confirming direction through circumstances, and equipping you to navigate life with supernatural insight. The ability to recognize this voice transforms ordinary decisions into divine appointments, aligning daily life with eternal purpose, and turning opportunities into breakthroughs. Ultimately, recognizing God's voice is not about mysticism or speculation. It is about relationship, alignment, and obedience. It is about attuning the heart, mind, and spirit to the divine rhythm, understanding that God's guidance is always purposeful, and committing to respond when called. Those who master this recognition live lives marked by clarity, confidence, and divine favor. They understand that the voice of God is a source of direction, wisdom, and empowerment, a guide through uncertainty, and a catalyst for transformation. Recognizing this voice is the gateway to living intentionally, achieving destiny, and fulfilling the calling that has been placed upon your life. The more sensitive you become to God's voice, the more natural it becomes to respond immediately and decisively. It becomes a part of your daily rhythm, a guiding principle in decision-making, and a source of unwavering confidence. This voice will never mislead, never contradict truth, and never leave you without direction. The challenge lies not in finding the voice, but in cultivating the discernment, awareness, and readiness to act when it speaks. It requires humility, openness, and a commitment to live in alignment with divine instruction. The deeper the recognition, the more powerful the response, and the more profound the impact on your life and the lives of others. Preparation before change is one of the most overlooked yet critical principles in the journey of life. Change is not random, and transformation does not occur in a vacuum. It is always preceded by preparation, often invisible, quiet, and unnoticed. God does not call a person into a season of greatness without first preparing them for it. Every trial endured, every lesson learned, every challenge faced is part of a divine curriculum designed to equip the individual for the responsibilities, opportunities, and breakthroughs that lie ahead. Preparation is not merely about acquiring skills or knowledge. It is about shaping character, building resilience, and developing spiritual maturity. It is the refining process through which raw potential is transformed into actionable power, and it is in this preparation that the foundation for lasting success and effective leadership is established. Preparation begins in the unseen realm of thought and belief. Before any external manifestation occurs, the mind, heart, and spirit must be aligned with God's purpose. God works first on the inside before He works on the outside. The visions, dreams, and desires planted within you are not accidental. They are seeds that require nurturing through preparation. Preparation molds your perspective, reshapes your priorities, and conditions your heart to recognize opportunities and act wisely. It teaches patience in waiting, discernment in decision-making, and humility in understanding that breakthrough is not merely about timing but about readiness. The unprepared mind often fails when opportunities arise, even when they are divinely ordained, because it is not yet equipped to handle the responsibilities that come with change. Challenges and trials play a critical role in preparation. Many people view difficulties as obstacles to success, but in truth, they are tools of preparation. God allows certain pressures to enter your life not to punish you, but to strengthen you. These experiences refine your character, reveal your weaknesses, and push you toward growth. Preparation through adversity develops resilience, endurance, and tenacity, qualities essential for sustaining the changes that God will bring. Without this preparation, sudden change can overwhelm, confuse, or misdirect a person, resulting in wasted opportunities and unrealized potential. The seasons of difficulty are not detours. They are deliberate parts of the divine strategy to prepare you for the weight of new responsibility. Preparation also involves understanding timing. Change does not occur on human schedules. It occurs on God's schedule, and being ready is essential to align with that timing. There is a principle that God never calls the unready into a season that requires readiness. He prepares the heart, mind, and spirit in advance so that when the moment of change arrives, you can act decisively and effectively. Preparation is a silent, invisible process, often unseen by others, but it is the crucible in which greatness is forged. Those who understand this principle do not become impatient or frustrated when delays occur. Instead, they recognize that every delay is a part of preparation, and that readiness will determine the magnitude of the breakthrough. Spiritual preparation is just as critical as practical preparation. Change often comes in alignment with God's purpose, and without spiritual readiness, the individual is unarmed to receive it. Spiritual preparation involves cultivating faith, developing a consistent prayer life, and growing in discernment. It is about aligning your will with God's will and preparing your spirit to recognize and respond to divine guidance. Without spiritual preparation, the ability to make decisions in alignment with God's plan diminishes, and the blessings that come through change can be misused, wasted, or misunderstood. Spiritual readiness ensures that change does not merely bring novelty or temporary improvement, but produces lasting transformation and influence. Preparation before change also requires intentional self-examination. God often prepares individuals by revealing areas of weakness, unresolved issues, or habits that need transformation. This process is not comfortable, but it is necessary. Self-examination allows you to confront fear, pride, and doubt, and to replace them with courage, humility, and faith. Preparation is about shedding the old to make way for the new, breaking free from limitations that would hinder the effectiveness of the upcoming change. Every area of your life that is unprepared becomes a potential stumbling block when God initiates a new season. By addressing these areas beforehand, you position yourself to receive the change fully and to walk in it with confidence and clarity. Mentorship, guidance, and counsel also play an important role in preparation. God often uses people, experiences, and environments to equip you for what is coming. Preparation is not done in isolation. It involves learning from others, receiving instruction, and developing the wisdom necessary to navigate complex situations. God's preparation may involve putting you in situations where you are tested, observed, and refined under guidance. Those who embrace counsel and are willing to learn are better equipped to step into their new season without being derailed by arrogance, ignorance, or impulsiveness. Preparation through guidance ensures that you are not only ready in skill, but also in character to steward the changes God brings. Preparation is also about cultivating patience and timing. Many people desire immediate transformation and act impulsively, but without preparation, change is often short-lived. God's process is deliberate and strategic. He prepares you internally while arranging external circumstances to converge at the perfect moment. Patience in preparation is not passive. It is active engagement in growth, learning, and alignment with purpose. It is the understanding that readiness amplifies the impact of change, and rushing ahead without it can result in setbacks or wasted opportunities. The ability to wait faithfully while being prepared is a mark of maturity and a key indicator of your readiness for God's transformative work in your life. Another aspect of preparation involves building discipline and consistency. Change often demands new habits, routines, and standards of living. God prepares you by instilling discipline, teaching consistency, and fostering a mindset of responsibility. This preparation ensures that when change occurs, you have the capacity to sustain it, manage its demands, and maximize its potential. Those who neglect preparation often find themselves overwhelmed when change arrives, unable to maintain progress, and at risk of regression. Preparation is the bridge between potential and fulfillment, and discipline is the vehicle that ensures the journey across that bridge is successful. Preparation also cultivates vision and clarity. God prepares you not only to handle change, but to understand the purpose behind it. Preparation allows you to see beyond immediate circumstances and to grasp the long-term significance of the shifts occurring in your life. It gives you the insight to make informed decisions, the wisdom to navigate challenges, and the discernment to recognize opportunities as they arise. Those who have been prepared can step into change with confidence, knowing not only what to do but why it must be done, and they are equipped to act decisively rather than react impulsively. Preparation, therefore, is both a shield and a lens, protecting you from missteps and providing clarity of direction. Ultimately, preparation before change is a comprehensive process that encompasses the mind, heart, spirit, and character. It involves developing resilience through trials, gaining wisdom through counsel, cultivating spiritual sensitivity, building discipline, refining character, and aligning fully with God's purpose. Every moment of preparation, though often unseen and uncomfortable, is an investment in your capacity to receive the change God intends to bring. Those who embrace preparation understand that transformation is not an event but a process. They recognize that God's timing, guidance, and refinement are perfect, and that readiness is the determining factor in how successfully they will navigate the next season of their lives. Preparation is not simply about waiting. It is about actively equipping yourself for the fullness of what God has prepared, ensuring that when change comes, you are not only ready but empowered to step fully into the destiny that has been designed specifically for you. The power of obedience is a principle that is as old as humanity itself, yet it remains one of the most misunderstood and undervalued forces in the life of a believer. Obedience is not simply about following rules or complying with instructions. It is a profound alignment of the will, heart, and mind with the voice and purposes of God. When God calls, especially in a pivotal moment before major change, the response to that call determines whether a person steps into their season of breakthrough or remains stagnant, delayed, or even misdirected. Obedience is the gateway to supernatural acceleration, the mechanism through which divine favor is released, and the instrument by which potential is transformed into tangible outcomes. To understand the power of obedience is to recognize that your life is not merely a product of human effort or circumstance, but of deliberate, responsive alignment with the will of the Creator. Obedience requires understanding the voice of God and responding to it without hesitation or compromise. There is a difference between knowing what is right and doing what is right. Many people hear the call of God, perceive the opportunity, or sense the direction, yet their hesitation or doubt prevents them from moving. Obedience is about trust. It is about stepping forward even when the path is unclear, even when fear seeks to paralyze, and even when human reasoning cannot fully grasp the scope of what God intends. It is not blind submission, it is an informed, conscious decision to align with the divine directive, trusting that God's timing, wisdom, and provision are perfect. The power of obedience lies not in the act itself, but in the transformation it brings both internally and externally. History and Scripture are filled with examples of individuals whose obedience became the turning point in their lives. The moment of obedience often precedes the moment of visible breakthrough. When Abraham obeyed without question, he became the father of nations. When Joshua obeyed the instructions to march around Jericho, walls fell without human explanation. When Esther obeyed the prompting to approach the king, a nation was spared. In every case, obedience was the bridge between promise and fulfillment, between vision and reality. The principle is clear: God's plans require action, and action requires obedience. It is obedience that activates the unseen forces, aligns circumstances, and mobilizes resources that exist in the spiritual realm. Without obedience, even the most promising opportunity can fade, and even the most prepared person can miss their breakthrough. Obedience is also a measure of faith. The act of doing what God commands, even when it contradicts human logic, demonstrates a level of trust that invites divine intervention. Faith is not passive. It is active expression through obedience. God's last call before a season of change is often a test of faith as much as it is an invitation. Responding with obedience demonstrates readiness to receive, to move beyond fear, and to enter fully into the transformative work God has prepared. The power of obedience lies in its ability to unlock favor, shift circumstances, and bring about results that surpass human expectation. It is not merely an act of compliance, it is a declaration of trust in God's plan and a commitment to participate in the unfolding of destiny. Obedience also requires humility. Pride and self-reliance are among the greatest obstacles to responding to God's call. Many people fail to act because they believe they know better, they feel unworthy, or they underestimate the importance of small initial steps. Humility allows a person to submit their understanding, their plans, and their timing to the wisdom of God. It opens the door to guidance, correction, and insight that would otherwise be blocked by ego and self-interest. The power of obedience is magnified when it flows from a heart that is willing to defer to divine authority, recognizing that God's perspective far exceeds human comprehension. Another critical aspect of obedience is timing. God's call is always precise, and the effectiveness of obedience often depends on responding promptly. Delay can compromise opportunity, allow fear to grow, and permit distractions to take hold. The act of immediate obedience communicates readiness, faith, and alignment with divine timing. When a person moves quickly in response to God, unseen forces are mobilized, doors are opened, and circumstances align in ways that would be impossible without such decisive action. Obedience in the moment ensures that the momentum of divine timing is not lost, and it positions the individual to experience the fullness of the change that God intends. Obedience also requires perseverance. Rarely does responding to God's call result in immediate or effortless success. The journey often includes challenges, resistance, and testing, and it is through sustained obedience that breakthroughs are secured. Consistent action, even when the results are not immediately visible, demonstrates commitment and positions a person to inherit the promises attached to their obedience. The power of obedience is cumulative. Each step taken in alignment with God builds spiritual momentum, strengthens character, and enhances the ability to handle greater responsibility when change occurs. The power of obedience extends beyond personal benefit. It affects others and shapes environments. One act of obedience can influence families, communities, and even nations. The choices made in response to God's call ripple outward, creating opportunities, altering destinies, and establishing legacies. Obedience is therefore not merely a private act of faith. It is a public declaration that God's purposes take precedence over human reasoning, and that divine instruction is worthy of immediate attention. The impact of obedience is magnified when combined with discernment, wisdom, and strategic action, allowing a single decision to produce exponential results. Obedience requires clarity of purpose and vision. Knowing why you are obeying reinforces commitment and provides motivation to act even when circumstances are challenging. God's call often requires courage, sacrifice, and trust in His plan, and understanding the larger purpose helps sustain obedience through difficulty. The power of obedience is greatest when it is informed by vision, aligned with principle, and reinforced by faith. It becomes the vehicle through which potential is transformed into achievement, preparation is translated into results, and divine promises are realized in tangible form. Obedience also builds spiritual authority. Each act of faithful response strengthens the connection between divine guidance and personal influence. The more one obeys, the more sensitive the spirit becomes to future promptings, and the greater the capacity to lead, mentor, and impact others. Obedience cultivates a character that is reliable, disciplined, and aligned with God's purpose, establishing credibility in both the spiritual and natural realms. The power of obedience is therefore not temporary. It produces lasting influence, equipping a person to handle larger responsibilities and to operate effectively in every season of life. Finally, the power of obedience is intimately linked to transformation. Change, especially the kind that God orchestrates, requires participation. It is not enough to desire transformation. One must act in alignment with divine instruction. Obedience bridges the gap between intention and manifestation, between readiness and actualization. It turns preparation into results, vision into reality, and potential into fulfillment. The moment of obedience is the moment when heaven intersects with earth, when spiritual principles are activated, and when the invisible forces of God move to establish the outcome that has been prepared for those who respond faithfully. Breaking the chains of the past is one of the most crucial steps in preparing for the transformative seasons that God intends for your life. Every person carries a history, moments of pain, disappointment, failure, and even sin that can weigh heavily on the present and hinder the future. These past experiences, if left unresolved, can act as invisible chains, limiting potential, blinding vision, and preventing alignment with the divine purpose. God's last call before everything changes is not merely an invitation to step forward into a new season. It is also a summons to release what has held you back. To break these chains requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths, because the freedom necessary for breakthrough cannot coexist with the weight of unaddressed past burdens. The chains of the past often manifest in patterns of thought, belief, and behavior that were formed through prior experiences. These patterns can be subtle, shaping how a person reacts to circumstances, interacts with others, and perceives their own potential. Fear, self-doubt, bitterness, and regret are common links in these chains. They whisper lies that diminish hope and obscure vision, convincing the mind that the past defines the future. Yet the voice of God calls for liberation from these lies, for the recognition that the past was a teacher, not a jailer, and that the life awaiting obedience, faith, and courage is not bound by former limitations. Breaking these chains is not an act of denial. It is an act of truth, recognition, and faith, a deliberate step toward embracing the new life that is being prepared. One of the first steps in breaking free from the past is forgiveness. This includes forgiving others who have caused pain, betrayal, or disappointment, as well as forgiving oneself for mistakes, misjudgments, or perceived failures. Unforgiveness acts as a chain that binds the heart, fosters resentment, and creates a continuous cycle of emotional bondage. God's call to release the past often comes with the invitation to forgive, because forgiveness is the key that unlocks the door to freedom. When a person forgives, they reclaim authority over their own life, break the emotional hold of previous wrongs, and position themselves to receive new blessings without the weight of resentment or bitterness. Forgiveness does not change what happened, but it changes the way the past affects the present and the future. Another dimension of breaking the chains of the past involves releasing fear. Fear often originates from prior experiences, failures, rejections, or unmet expectations, and can prevent a person from stepping into the next season of life. Fear keeps people tethered to the familiar, even when the familiar is limiting or destructive. God's call challenges individuals to confront and overcome these fears, to trust in His provision, wisdom, and timing. Overcoming fear is an act of faith that allows one to move forward, to take risks in alignment with divine direction, and to embrace opportunities that would otherwise remain out of reach. Breaking these chains of fear opens the mind and spirit to possibilities, creating space for growth, innovation, and new levels of achievement. Self-identity and perception are also critical areas in which chains from the past may reside. Many people define themselves based on previous failures, societal labels, or the opinions of others. These perceptions act as invisible barriers, limiting vision and reducing the capacity to dream boldly. God's call requires individuals to shed these limiting identities and to embrace their true identity as children of God, created for greatness, purpose, and influence. Recognizing self-worth and potential is a transformative act because it replaces limitation with possibility, doubt with confidence, and fear with expectation. The breaking of these chains is therefore both internal and external. It changes not only how a person thinks, but how they live, act, and pursue destiny. Breaking the chains of the past also involves confronting habits and behaviors that were developed as coping mechanisms or responses to previous pain. These behaviors may have served a purpose in the past, but they can become barriers to growth and transformation if they persist unchecked. God's call challenges individuals to evaluate which patterns serve their purpose and which hinder progress, and to make deliberate choices to release those that are no longer beneficial. This process requires self-discipline, honesty, and sometimes external accountability, but it is essential for stepping into a new season unencumbered. Habits, when aligned with purpose, propel forward movement. When left unchecked, they act as chains that hold back potential. The environment and relationships that surround a person can also reinforce chains of the past. Toxic relationships, negative influences, and limiting environments can continually pull a person back into previous patterns of thought and behavior. Breaking these chains often involves creating boundaries, seeking supportive communities, and aligning oneself with individuals and circumstances that encourage growth, vision, and accountability. God's call may require a radical shift in associations and surroundings, emphasizing the importance of surrounding oneself with forces that align with purpose rather than perpetuate limitation. Freedom is not achieved in isolation, but through intentional restructuring of life to support forward momentum. Emotional and mental renewal is also central to breaking the chains of the past. The mind must be retrained to think in alignment with the future God intends rather than remain fixed on what has been. This involves replacing limiting beliefs with faith-filled convictions, reframing past experiences as lessons rather than burdens, and cultivating an expectation of success and favor. God's voice calls individuals to renew their minds and to adopt perspectives that are rooted in possibility, growth, and divine alignment. The chains of the past lose power when the mind is trained to focus on what is being prepared rather than what has been experienced. Faith is the catalyst for breaking chains. It is not enough to recognize the past and desire freedom. Belief in God's power, timing, and purpose is required to step beyond limitation. Faith empowers action, enabling individuals to release what has bound them and to move confidently into new territory. The breaking of chains is an act of spiritual courage, a demonstration of trust in God, and a commitment to embrace the transformative work He is orchestrating. Without faith, the past remains a shadow, haunting possibilities and clouding vision. With faith, chains fall, and the path forward is illuminated with clarity, strength, and divine favor. Breaking the chains of the past is also about recognizing the lessons embedded in every experience. Every disappointment, mistake, or painful season has contributed to the wisdom, resilience, and insight necessary for the new season. Rather than dwelling on regret or loss, the call is to extract the learning, integrate it, and use it as a foundation for growth. God's preparation is always purposeful, and His call to leave the past behind is an invitation to embrace the knowledge, skills, and understanding gained through those experiences. The chains are not broken by forgetting, but by understanding and transcending the limitations imposed by prior events. The process of breaking chains requires consistent action. Freedom is not achieved through mere acknowledgement, but through deliberate steps, releasing grudges, confronting fears, realigning thought patterns, establishing boundaries, and embracing faith. Each action reinforces the principle that the past does not dictate the future, that limitation can be replaced by empowerment, and that readiness for change is both spiritual and practical. God's last call before a major shift is both a warning and an encouragement, a signal that the chains that remain in your life must be addressed before the new season can be fully realized. Embracing the new season is the culmination of preparation, obedience, and the release of the past. Life is cyclical, and every person has seasons, periods of growth, challenge, transition, and opportunity. God's last call before everything changes is a summons to step into a season that has been divinely orchestrated, a period in which your life, influence, and impact are poised to expand in ways that exceed human expectation. To embrace this season requires more than mere anticipation. It demands faith, courage, and a readiness to align with the opportunities, responsibilities, and blessings that are waiting to unfold. It is the conscious decision to step forward, to leave behind hesitation, and to claim the promise of transformation that has been prepared for your life. A new season often brings with it change, and change can be unsettling. The familiar, even when it is limiting or painful, provides comfort, and stepping into the unknown requires trust. God's call is an invitation to move beyond comfort zones, to leave the security of the past, and to walk into a future that has been designed specifically for your growth and purpose. Embracing the new season involves letting go of doubt and fear and replacing them with faith and expectation. It is understanding that every change, whether it involves relationships, career, spiritual growth, or personal development, carries with it the potential for exponential impact when approached with openness and courage. Faith plays a central role in embracing a new season. To step forward without complete visibility requires trust in God's provision, wisdom, and timing. The unseen forces are often working in alignment with your obedience and preparation, but human perception may not immediately recognize the pattern or purpose. Faith bridges that gap. It allows a person to act decisively, even when the path is unclear, knowing that God's guidance, support, and empowerment are present. Embracing the new season requires believing in what is not yet visible, trusting in promises that are not yet fully realized, and taking steps that align with divine direction rather than human reasoning. The readiness to embrace a new season also involves awareness and discernment. Not every opportunity is a call from God, and not every change is aligned with your purpose. Discernment ensures that you step into seasons that are divinely orchestrated rather than those that are simply circumstantial or temporary. This requires sensitivity to spiritual guidance, attentiveness to your inner convictions, and the ability to distinguish between the voice of fear, doubt, or external influence and the voice of God. Embracing the new season with clarity allows you to act in alignment with purpose, maximize opportunities, and avoid detours that could delay progress or diminish impact. Embracing a new season requires courage. It is the courage to leave behind what is familiar, even when it provides comfort, recognition, or security. It is the courage to pursue vision, even when the outcome is uncertain, and to take risks that faith demands. Courage is cultivated through preparation, tested through obedience, and demonstrated in action. The new season is an invitation to live boldly, to expand influence, and to exercise authority in areas where previously you may have been hesitant or constrained. Courage transforms hesitation into opportunity and fear into action, allowing the blessings of the new season to be fully realized. Growth is an essential component of embracing a new season. Every season carries lessons, responsibilities, and opportunities for development. The process of stepping into a new season is both external and internal. It requires adapting to circumstances while also growing spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. Growth ensures that the new season is sustainable, that progress is continuous, and that the person is equipped to handle the magnitude of influence and responsibility that comes with the change. Embracing the season means committing to lifelong learning, being open to correction and insight, and maintaining a posture of humility and teachability, even amidst advancement and success. Action is the bridge between embracing a new season and realizing its full potential. God's call does not merely invite contemplation, it requires response. Stepping forward in obedience, applying the lessons learned from the past, and exercising faith are practical expressions of embracing the season. Action activates the principles that have been prepared, mobilizes resources that were waiting to align, and opens doors that remain closed to hesitation. The new season is unlocked through intentional, decisive movement, and those who fail to act often find opportunities passing by, even when they are ready in spirit. Action demonstrates commitment, releases divine favor, and establishes momentum that propels a person further than preparation alone could achieve. Embracing a new season also involves a willingness to be used beyond personal benefit. God's work in our lives is never isolated. It is connected to the lives of others, communities, and even nations. A new season often carries with it the potential to impact many, to serve greater purposes, and to leave a lasting legacy. Accepting the call to a new season is not solely about personal advancement. It is about stepping into a position of influence, responsibility, and stewardship that can transform lives, create opportunity, and reflect the character and wisdom of God. Those who embrace the season fully understand that personal fulfillment and divine purpose are intertwined, and that the scope of blessing expands as faithfulness and action increase. Patience and endurance are also critical as one enters a new season. Change does not always bring immediate results. Some aspects of transformation unfold gradually. Embracing a new season requires perseverance, a continued commitment to growth, and a refusal to revert to old habits or mindsets. The initial steps may be challenging, the vision may appear distant, and the process may require sustained effort and faith. Patience allows for the integration of lessons, adjustment to new circumstances, and the cultivation of strength that ensures the season of change produces lasting impact rather than temporary or fleeting gains. Gratitude and acknowledgement play a vital role in fully embracing a new season. Recognizing the preparation, guidance, and divine orchestration that have brought you to this point strengthens faith and positions the heart to receive fully. Gratitude opens the spirit to continued blessing, reinforces humility, and fosters a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. By acknowledging the journey, the lessons, and the divine hand in every stage, a person steps into the new season with clarity, confidence, and a receptive spirit, maximizing the opportunities and favor that accompany it. Embracing a new season also requires alignment with purpose. It is not simply about change for change's sake, but about stepping into the specific plans and assignments God has designed for you. Alignment ensures that actions are effective, influence is meaningful, and progress is sustainable. The new season is an opportunity to operate in your unique calling, to exercise authority in areas of preparation, and to contribute to the expansion of vision that extends beyond individual success. Purpose-driven engagement in a new season ensures that every effort, every decision, and every step is in harmony with the larger divine plan. Finally, embracing a new season is an act of faith, courage, and intentionality that signals readiness to receive all that God has prepared. It is a conscious decision to leave behind limitation, hesitation, and fear, a willingness to step into growth, opportunity, and influence, and a commitment to act decisively, faithfully, and purposefully. A new season is not merely a period of change. It is a divinely orchestrated opportunity to walk in alignment with destiny, to exercise influence, and to demonstrate obedience, faith, and readiness. Those who fully embrace it do so with clarity, courage, and commitment, understanding that the fullness of God's blessing is unlocked not by circumstance alone, but by intentional action and responsive alignment with His plan. As we draw this message to a close, remember this: God's last call is not merely an invitation. It is a declaration that your life is on the threshold of transformation. The time has come to rise above hesitation, to release the burdens of the past, to embrace preparation, and to step fully into the destiny that has been reserved for you. Change will not wait for the unready, nor will opportunity linger for the hesitant. It demands faith, courage, obedience, and a heart aligned with divine purpose. Every moment of preparation, every act of obedience, every lesson learned, and every fear overcome has been orchestrated to position you for this very season. Do not shrink back. Do not wait for perfection, for timing, or for external validation. God's call is now, and the power to respond lies within you. Walk forward with confidence, knowing that the chains of limitation are broken, the voice of God has been heard, and the new season is ready to manifest through your faith-filled action. Your destiny does not belong to chance, circumstance, or hesitation. It belongs to the God who has prepared you, who has equipped you, and who is calling you now to step into greatness. This is your moment. Answer the call. Step into the change. Claim the promises. Live the life you were created to live. Everything is waiting on the other side of obedience, and nothing will ever be the same again once you say yes to God's last call.